Hi everybody from New Zealand. I have had the great pleasure of speaking tonight in Auckland here at Workday in association with the Irish Business Network New Zealand and the Irish Embassy New Zealand as well. Tonight I shared 5 of the key things that have helped most during my career thus far. And before I tell you what those are, can I just tell you a couple of interesting points that I learned about the country this week? First of all, did you know that 1 in 6 people in New Zealand are of Irish heritage? Did you know that the average age of a person working in agriculture is actually declining in New Zealand, whereas it's rising currently in Ireland? I just heard that statistic there a while ago. Did you know that our populations are actually very, very similar, and that our economic growth is moving in the same direction? Obviously as well, we are Ireland is an island off a larger one, similarly of course for New Zealand. So there's actually a lot of similarities I found so far that I've seen this week, as well as differences, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that at the end. But before I do, just want to tell you a little bit about what I was sharing this evening. So first of all, I spoke about the importance of learning how to ask effective questions. One of the best things that I have learned how to do is to ask a question in such a way to get to the information that I needed faster. Okay, so one of the ones, and I'm smiling already as I'm saying this to you because some of you might have already seen me do this before, but one of the questions that I ask if I want to move a conversation forward is, do you have your diary with you? So the reason for that is, you know, when you meet somebody at an event, so there's networking going on out there. I'll just show you around there. For example, this is the background here in Auckland at the moment. So this evening there's a reception going on there outside. There's lots of people meeting each other and so on. And I've often been in those situations where I'm talking to someone and say, oh, you know, we should meet for coffee, and I really want to move the conversation forward. So rather than say, oh yeah, you know, I'll follow up, is that I say, do you have your diary with you? Of course they do, sure, it's in their hand, and that is because a lot of us today have our diaries on our phone. So then of course people say, oh I do, and that is how I move it forward. So I have found that has sped things up. The second question is one that I learned from Caroline McHenry's book, The Art of Asking the Right Questions in Terms of Managing People, is what would you do if you were me? And it's a very powerful management question because it requires the other person to have empathy for your position. And by the way, I've tried that one sometimes and I have been pushed away by told, well, you're the manager or you're the whoever, you should know. Not the point. I always say then, well, you know, I appreciate your insight into this, so therefore I know that I should know, but you know what, I'm always learning too, and it would be really good to hear your point of view. And then when I do that, I typically learn an awful lot about how that person perceives my position to be. So in terms of increasing empathy in somebody, particularly in somebody where it's really important that you see from a different perspective, I found that one to be very, very helpful. Now, one thing that we did tonight actually was that I asked then people using a tool, a digital tool, to submit what they felt were one of the most interesting questions that they've ever asked or been asked, and it was really interesting to see what they were. One question, and it was just interesting, somebody here in New Zealand picked up on this, because it is so, and because of the Irish network, like, it is exactly the opposite side of the world. Is they said, how do you find work where work isn't where you're looking? And I think that that's a very interesting question to look at from all of our points of view, because we can all hit on an economic difficulty or disruption, or, you know, being in a different geography completely, and it's still important to be able to find an answer to that. So so we collected all of those and so on. So the second one is the second thing that has made the most difference in my career is a quote from Zig Ziglar that is interesting to live, and that is that if you enable people to get what they want, you will be able to find all that you want. In other words, if you can align your value system in such a way that you can help people achieve theirs simultaneously, you'll be able to do anything. And you know, when I think here of Workday here behind me, I was thinking about those as a case study. And Workday, by the way, is a company. They're actually based in Dublin, and they're based in California, and they're based Singapore, and also based here in Auckland. So what they do is that they enable you to look at your payroll, financial, and HR systems in one system, so that you can make decisions about your staff and allocate resources. And I was just thinking about that, and I was saying, you know, why would I want a product like that? Or why would a manager want a product like that? And at the end of the day, if a staff member is working for you, right, they want to get the best out of the job. It's not going to be just money. Maybe they want variety, maybe they want security, maybe they want opportunity, maybe they want more learning, whatever it might be. And then ultimately what Workday are doing is that they are giving you the metrics around your finance and your IT and your HR systems, so that you can align those two together, so that the company can get the most out of the staff, but that also that the staff can get the most out of the company. And again, you know, I try to live and breathe that as much as I can. And it's not just about having staff, or it's not just about having customers, or it's not just about for people who work in sales or in management. Every one of us engages with other people. It could be an employer, it could be a manager. If you're working in not-for-profit, or if you're working in a sector where you need sponsorship, well, then you're going to have all of that point of view as well. But the key thing is that how do you find out what people want? So can I give you a resource for that? What I look at is an article from the Harvard Business Review called the 30 Elements of Value. In other words, what is it that people really want, and how can you give it to them? So that is what I use. I'm going to post a link to that there as well, so that you can see that. Right, so then the third one was the importance of following up, the sheer importance of following up. The reason I'm here is because the embassy invited me out to do a range of outreach activities in Wellington, in Auckland and in Christchurch. And that happened as a result of some work that I did in Hong Kong a couple of years ago, and that happened because of an email that I had sent talking about the work that we do with young people and the work that I do with the Irish community and Global Irish and building a global network and all that kind of thing. But it's all due to follow up. So I pointed out how it's so important to follow up, and that's partly the reason that I'm recording this video for you all, is that I want to share what I spoke about tonight and the impact that it had on my career, so that I can follow up with all of you at the one time. The next point comes back to right here, which is the Irish Business Network in New Zealand. I spoke about building a global network and the sheer impact that has had on our business and on me personally as well. The way in which I put it to people tonight is that I said, right, millions of people are working together simultaneously right now to enable you to have more opportunities. And that could be the Global Irish community itself, and it could be Enterprise Europe Network. You've all heard me talk about that organisation before. It could be your own professional society. For example, I'm a member of CFA Institute because I'm a CFA charter holder, which is a Chartered Financial Analyst charter holder, and that is a global society to enable people who have got the charter that I have to be able to have occupational mobility in between countries. So it's not just geographical, or it's not just cultural, or it's not just professional, or it's not technological. It's all of these things. And when you think about the sheer number of people who are out there and willing to help you, but not just where they're willing to help you out of goodwill, but because that's their job. So for example, Enterprise Ireland is helping companies all over the world who are connected with Ireland to be able to sell into certain areas, and they have metrics set by the government. So therefore, by you going and getting the help from Enterprise Ireland, for example, well then that is two people working together to achieve a similar outcome. And then the final and the fifth point that I mentioned was something that I learned from interviewing Joan Malloy. She is a sailor. She's from Mayo in Ireland. Is that she spoke about in the podcast with me. That was where I interviewed her. She spoke about using a goal to make a decision about every single action that you have. So a couple of weeks ago, as you know, I was in Barbados. The reason you know that is because I recorded another LinkedIn Live there, and I spoke about the key outputs that I was looking for. Now, the key outputs that I took from Barbados and all the deep work that I did there, I have then turned those into what did I need to do in order to build on those to make an impact. I have 10 outputs for January. I'm almost there in meeting them at this stage, but what I do is that I use those outputs, those key 10 results that I'm looking for, to shape every decision. So will I spend time on X versus Y? Will I, take time now, or will I take time later? All of those are solely driven by the goal. What is the goal? And in my case, the goal are the outputs that I look for. Couple of tiny other things about New Zealand. I have to say, fabulous people, amazing people, really, really friendly people. Great focus on work-life balance here. Great place focusing on families. Huge amount in common with the Irish, but also a lot in contrast with the Irish. One of the things, and I'll finish on this, is of course time, right? Currently where I am now is 13 hours ahead of Ireland, and when you take into account other time zones, obviously there's changes there. If you're running a 24-hour business where you need 24-hour customer care, to have a base in Ireland and in New Zealand makes absolute sense because you can service the world from here. Lots more to come throughout the week, and I have to say I'm so excited. What a fabulous country, and thanks so much to everybody for giving me this opportunity.